Hey, 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 it's your girl Leilani Ray, and I'm back with another episode of your favorite Mom Friends podcast. You guys, this episode is just absolutely exceptional. Why do you ask? Because we have a distinguished guest of honor with us. I like to call her Coach Camille. She goes by Camille or Cams, but she is a certified nutritional coach or certified nutrition coach and a weight loss expert, if you will. Okay. And I'm just super excited to have her on. If you guys remember, I had my sister Carla on last episode discussing mental health and motherhood. And it turns out that Camille is known all over for her weight loss expertise and her giving out tips on nutrition and all of that. So it's truly, truly an honor to have her on today, you guys. I'm going to try to get everything I can out of her for you all. Listen, she has a following. I bring this up because I just want you guys to understand that she is well known for her work and what she does for moms and women. And over 5,000 people believe the same. So, you guys, it is certainly my pleasure and my honor to have Camille on. Welcome, Camille, to
Thank
your
you so
favorite
much for
mom
having me,
friends.
Leilani. Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks for
you
having
are
me. I'm so
welcome.
excited to talk to you today and to
Oh,
meet your mom friends and
yeah,
everyone.
it's truly my pleasure to have you on. Like, especially on kind of like short notice. Like, this is because you're busy.
Sure.
You guys, she is in the UAE right now. That's the United Arab Emirates. There's a 12-hour time difference. Okay. So I just want you guys to understand, like, this is truly just exceptional to just have her on, and I'm truly honored. So, all right. So what I normally like to do next is to go into some pop questions, and
Okay.
I just find it fun. I just think it's a fun thing to kind of get into. So I guess without further ado, right?
Mhm.
As a resident, I'm fascinated with the UAE and anybody
Okay.
that lives there that isn't originally from there. And you
Right.
guys, Camille is, correct me if I'm wrong, was raised and born in Jamaica, or born and raised in Jamaica, right?
Mhm.
So she currently lives in the UAE and she's lived there for over 7 years and
Yeah.
with her daughter. So,
Mhm.
um, as a resident of the UAE, right? Culture shock. I visited once and
Oh, nice.
I did, yes, years ago in school, and
Nice.
it was different. I was like, oh
It
my
was
gosh, it's
different.
so different, but it was
Yeah.
cool. What
Mhm.
are some major don'ts that you've learned while living there? Like
Major
PTA
don't.
and stuff like dress code
Well,
and all that, drinking rules.
so it's not as strict as everyone thinks it is. Everyone has this initial impression. If you live in the Middle East, it means that you need to like be covered as a woman,
Yeah.
and it means that you have to walk behind your husband, and you
Yeah.
can't do things, and you can't drive, and like that's so far from the truth.
Oh my
I leave my
gosh.
house exactly like I'm dressed right here in my leggings and my
Really? The
tank top
sleeveless
every
and
day.
everything.
Every day I'm dressed exactly like
Wow.
this.
Wow.
Um, so in terms of don'ts, of course, it is a country that has, let's say, more rules than maybe the
Mm-hmm.
West.
Yeah.
But you can have alcohol. You can only have it at certain places, right? Like certain licensed
Mm.
places.
Mm.
You probably should not curse in public.
Oh, wow.
I've not actually done it. I mean, clearly, like I curse like in my own life, for
Yeah.
example. But I certainly wouldn't be on the street and like drop f bombs or anything like
What would
that.
happen if you
Um,
did that? Like, what's the worst that could happen?
well, okay, I have heard of situations. Let me show you how pedantic it can be. I
Yeah.
have heard of situations where if you were to curse at the wrong person in a WhatsApp message, let's say, they
Oh,
could use that WhatsApp as proof that you like disrespected them, and they could take you to court, and you would, I
what?
suppose, either have to pay a fine or something. Yeah, like they could sue you.
Wow.
Um,
Oh my
so like certainly,
gosh.
I never like go off crazy on anyone on like WhatsApp, like you know what I mean. It doesn't happen. Um,
That's
but the thing is
wild.
here, and I would show you if I had it close by. everyone has an Emirates ID. Like there's no one here who is undocumented or doesn't have some kind of like proof of who you are, where you live, why you're here, all of that.
Wow.
So if you do something on the street that's like illegal, they
Yeah.
can just say, give me your Emirates ID. And they would just scan your ID right there, and it pulls up all your information, your passport information, your address, your phone number, everything. And they would just say, oh, I'm going to issue you a fine of, $300 US or $500 US. And now that's connected to my passport. So if I try to leave the country, when they scan my passport, they'll be like, oh, you have a fine of,
you can't leave.
You can't leave. You can go over there and just go pay the fine. Now, of course, they're not going to do that if I'm just like traveling for fun. Like if I'm just leaving to go somewhere for a few days, they wouldn't do that. But if I was like leaving the country for good, they'd be like, no, you need to close out all these fines before you leave our country.
Wow.
So there's some of that stuff.
There's
like
some
that's how they enforce their rules. There's some stuff. But the truth is, I live my life the same way I've lived my life anywhere. Because being born and raised in Jamaica, I lived in the States for a while, in Florida. I lived in Italy for a while. I lived in Spain for a while. I lived in Trinidad for a while.
Wow.
I live the same way here that I've lived in all those places. So, it's not any major restriction.
Wow. That is cool. I mean, it's probably not cool. Some people might listen to this and be like, no, Leilani, that's cool, scary.
Leilani. That's weird.
That's weird. But it's like they're keeping you in check. That means the crime rate should be fairly low, right? No crime.
No, like there's no crime. I literally, I don't know if I should say this in a public forum. Like literally, I will go to the gym, and because I don't want to like carry stuff and like put stuff in a locker, I literally leave my car key in the unlocked car, and like my stuff's in there, my wallet's in there, my handbag. I go, I work out for an hour, I come back, it's all there. The car is there. There's nothing will happen to any of my stuff. Like it's all fine. Yeah. So it's totally safe here. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Switching topics a little bit. Favorite UAE food to eat?
Ooh. So UAE food, basically just general Arabic food. Oh, what do I love? I love so many things. I like their tabbouleh, which is like a little salad thing. I like the pita and hummus. They do like an awesome kind of charcoal grilled chicken here. I can't even say one favorite. I mean, I love Arabic food. I love exploring like cultures through food. So for me, I love it. There's a breakfast dish here called shakshuka, which is kind of like tomatoes and like onions and seasoning and stuff, like very saucy, and then eggs on top of that, and they kind of like steam it. It's really, really good, and then serve it with fresh pita. That's probably one of my favorite things. Yeah, it's really good.
Is peri peri native to there? Do you know peri peri chicken?
I do know peri peri chicken. I think peri peri chicken is more of a Portuguese type thing.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So no, that's not native.
Oh, I love peri peri. I actually discovered peri peri in London when on a study abroad, and I was just like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah,
so,
it's good.
Yeah.
So
I mentioned briefly, that you're there with your daughter, and you are a mom, and you're working. How do you balance work with your daughter? And this is kind of like a follow-up to that up front, but how do you, is there childcare there? And if so, what's that like?
Okay, so I have a husband. Like, I won't act like I don't have a husband. I have a
Yes.
I do have a husband. I never talk about him on my social media. It's like he doesn't exist. But I do have him.
You're gonna make me start coughing. Oh my gosh.
No, he's super anti like social media. He's like a very private person. So I basically just act like he doesn't. But so in terms of balancing, like obviously I do have the support of my husband. Like we both take care of our daughter. And childcare here, I would say is like decently accessible. Okay. When I first moved here, it's very common, I would say, culturally here to have like live-in help. So to have a nanny or someone, you know, that is lives here with you and like for a solidly affordable price. But the whole first year that we had someone here helping us, I was working from home. And once my daughter started going to nursery, I felt like I spent majority of the day just looking at her because there was like nothing for her to do. So meaning the house was clean, I cooked all the food, you know, she would help me like clean up after I cooked and stuff. And I just kind of felt like, you know, you're like, I don't even need the assistance, right? So so I ended up, you know, just, you know, like she went to another family, basically. She went to go and help another family. Balance is hard. I will freely admit that. I don't know if there's any, like, I don't know if balance is a real thing. I get most of my work done while my daughter is at school. Because of the time difference, I do have to do some work in the evenings when she's home. But the truth is, based on my daughter's age, I try to have open communication with her, you know. Mommy has to work. Okay, why does mommy have to work? So that mommy can afford to, you know, buy Izzy all the things that she wants and needs. So that mommy can help to provide for our family because mommy enjoys work. I want her to see that, you know, I don't have to be a stay-at-home mom to like dedicate my whole life to her. I can still have my own life and be a good mom to her. I kind of want her to see, you know, all the things so that she can kind of grow up and like make her own decision. Like, what do I want to do this or that? You know, I just want to show her that I'm like a whole, fulfilled, happy person. So she can be a whole, fulfilled, happy person. I know that was like a very roundabout answer.
No, it was. You mentioned the school. This is kind of sidetracked, but like, what's school like there for the kids?
School is awesome. She goes to a British school. It's like a British curriculum. But the students are like international. And I think it's pretty awesome for her. She has friends from India, from Italy, from Lebanon, who are locals, from America, from Canada, from England, from Ireland, from, you know, all over the world. And so I think that has been an awesome level of exposure for her. But her teachers are all British and it's a British curriculum because we're hoping that if and when we leave here, we'd go back to Jamaica, which is also the British curriculum. So then she would hopefully have like a seamless transition back into the, you know,
Wow, that's very interesting. I didn't realize that the UAE is that the UAE, do they subscribe to the British curriculum?
It varies. They have schools here that you can lean into the American curriculum. They have schools here that are on a local curriculum, like a Middle Eastern, you know, curriculum. So it really just depends what you want as a family. So we chose the British curriculum because also my husband and I, both being born and raised in Jamaica, and we studied the British curriculum. That's what we know as well. So we said, okay, like, let's just keep her on that path that we're familiar with.
That you're familiar with. That's very cool. Absolutely. What is your favorite thing to do in the UAE?
Ooh, I love to just go outside. That sounds really stupid, right?
No, not at all. I love going for walks if I can.
The weather here is The weather here is ridiculously hot for majority of the year, which means there are several months in the year that it's almost just hard to be outside because of how hot it is. Like the sun is, you know, like literally burning your skin. So the couple months of the year that it's like good, like right now in winter, I literally just love to go outside. Like I like to go for a walk. We'll go to parks and just hang out. We will drive out to the desert and barbecue and just like hang out in the desert and watch the sunset because the sky is still blue, the sun is out, it's gorgeous outside, but there's like a nice cool breeze. So just enjoying literally outside.
Is there a local thing to do in the UAE to like, you know, pastime, favorite thing to do there?
Like for locals?
Yeah, but like what, you know, what is your UAE local weekend looking like?
my UAE local weekend.
Look, I know. What
It's
do
going
they go to the
outside.
mall?
Oh,
You
they're
know,
huge on malls. They're
okay.
huge on malls, which I
Okay.
don't know if that's a good thing. But I do feel like they kind of have to be, what with the weather. And of course, the mall is indoor, it's air conditioned. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, that
they
makes
go to the
sense.
mall a lot. They shop
Wow.
a lot like locals, but that's
Wow.
not necessarily like my reality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not so much
But they
into
do
all of
love
that
to
stuff.
go out to the desert and do things in the desert. Because I mean,
Okay.
they are originally a Bedouin people. Like they used to live in the desert, right? Like they are
Mm,
desert dwellers. So that's
yeah.
kind of their thing. Go out to the desert and
Yeah.
camp and like hang out there.
I remember that when I came out there, I actually did like a safari. They called it like a
Yeah.
safari
A
adventure
desert
thing.
safari thing.
That
Yeah.
was such a cool, I keep saying cool, but it
Yeah.
really was really like an
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
experience out there.
Yeah. There's a
And they
lot to
like,
do here.
yeah, yeah, they had like the camels, and then they had the women at that time. I don't know if they still do this, but they had the women
Mhm.
and the men separated for dinner time, where they would go in
Yeah.
separate lines. Is that still a
Yeah.
thing out there to eat separately?
I feel like it depends. I would say certainly that's mostly locals, but then at the same time you will
Mm,
see families dying together. But
mm,
like if you've ever here, if they have like a local wedding, it's
uh-huh.
exactly what you just said. All the women
Wow.
are in like one room, one section, all the men are in one room, one section.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I have jumped around enough and bugging you about
We've
these
gone way
yoga.
off on a tangent.
Way
This has
off,
nothing to do with
okay?
nutrition.
Nothing to do with nutrition and weight loss. So we're gonna go ahead and do a
Let's reel
dumpster
it in.
dive, if you will. Yeah, and
Yeah.
kind of get in there on the
Yes.
topic for this podcast today, which is
Yes.
weight loss and motherhood. Uh,
Yes.
so first off, I just want to thank you again for being on the podcast. This
Yeah.
is
Thanks for having
like,
me.
yeah, these moms will be so happy to hear from you, and
Good.
it is an issue that us moms face today,
Yeah.
and it's not even just today. It's kind of like over
Forever.
time,
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
After you have a child, like how do you manage your weight, and
Yeah. Yeah.
mothering at the same time? So, um, you obviously have a daughter, so you went through
Mhm.
pregnancy.
Mhm.
And once you had your daughter,
Mhm.
you obviously you're in great shape. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you,
How?
Leilani.
Yes, you're welcome. How did you do it? What was that like, losing that weight? How long did it take you? Walk us through that, if you will.
Okay. Let me really like rewind my brain because my daughter is about to be 9, right?
Yes, long time ago.
So when I was pregnant, I was super duper sick while I was pregnant. So I
Mm.
actually like lost 10 pounds like
Oh
the
my
first few months
goodness.
I was pregnant. And then at the end of the pregnancy, like by the end of the pregnancy, I think I had gained around 30 pounds. So it wasn't
Yeah,
terrible, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, and in terms of getting the weight off, this is what's funny about my like weight loss journey. I
Mm.
got the weight off after pregnancy the wrong way. I did a ton of cardio. I met someone who told me that I needed to eat clean. And
Mm.
so for me, I didn't, in terms of my understanding of eating clean, I said, okay, I'm only gonna like eat things that I suppose I can identify they have a mother and father in terms of protein. And like, stay away, like Oreos are not clean, Doritos are not clean.
Yeah.
So, I would just eat like very bland, like tuna with no mayo and like very bland chicken and fish and stuff, and doing tons of cardio. And so that's how I initially lost the weight after pregnancy. But of course, it was impossible to keep it off. And so then I
Mm.
found myself in like a major rebound.
Mm.
And then I inevitably ended up like learning more about nutrition. Like at that point, I felt so frustrated because I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Eat clean again?
Mm.
Go back into that restrictive dieting again. So
Mm.
I said, you know what? Let me take a step back,
Mm.
actually like learn properly about nutrition,
Mm.
about weight loss, about the science of calories, how to lose weight, how to gain weight, what to eat, the real nutrition value of the food I was eating. And then apply that and see how that, positively or negatively impacts my weight loss journey. So that is when I really learned about calories. I learned about macros, which are the things that make up calories, the proteins, carbs, and fats that are in our foods. And that is what really, I want to say, it heals my relationship with food, and it heals my relationship with my body. After pregnancy, I had initially kind of looked at my body as, I don't want to say broken, but I had an emergency C-section. My body didn't feel like my own, right? Like I couldn't physically move the way that I had moved before. I was certainly carrying weight and feeling uncomfortable. I was not getting any sleep. So my body didn't feel like it was mine, even after I lost the weight and gained some of it back and stuff. So when I learned more about nutrition and I started moving my body differently, I started lifting weights instead of focusing on cardio. That is what really healed my body, healed my relationship with my body, and healed my relationship with food. When people ask questions like, how long did it take to lose the weight? I like to really say, does it matter? If I say it took me 2 months, do I get a prize? If I say it took me 5 years, are you going to say, oh, bitch, that's too long? Like, I don't really care what you have to say. I feel like when we put this kind of timeline, this forced timeline on ourselves, it only makes it harder and makes us feel worse about ourselves when we it's almost like when you set a goal that you can't reach, you just set yourself up for failure. You know what I mean? So I personally like to remove the discussion of the timeline and say, hey, it takes as long as it takes. And the goal doesn't need to be a number on the scale. The goal needs to be getting to a point where you feel good. And it's not about your pre-baby body, because when you say pre-baby body, would you give up the baby to get back the body? No, you had the baby. We assume you want the baby. You're happy that the baby's there, right? So this is your body now, and you wouldn't trade the baby for the world. With the baby came some stretch marks and some loose skin and all this extra stuff. So let's now find a way to take the best care of this post-baby body and just get you feeling good again. Get you feeling closer to yourself and get you feeling good again. That was my focus, and that is my focus with my clients now who are new moms, who are moms. Yeah.
And that's wonderful. I mean, I think that we do really need to kind of focus, first of all, be body positive, which I know that's something that you champion, on your platform. And it's so important to stop focusing on that number. And I think so many of us get caught up with oh, I just 10 pounds, just 10 pounds. I could lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever.
Right.
So, and that brings me to my next point with the busyness of motherhood, because we do get caught up. I know for me in the past, I kind of use an event to say, oh, I have this thing coming up. And that psychs me up to say, okay, now I need to go on this crazy fad diet, at least in the past, right? And to lose the weight to get to this point. But then being a mom, it changes because sometimes you could get sick, things get thrown out of whack. How do you maintain, I would say, because you're coach, but at the same time you're also a mom, so how do you maintain your diet as is, right, with being a mom and all of that can get thrown out of whack any minute?
Ooh, this answer has layers, right? Lots of layers.
Yeah.
So number one, I keep my diet, and remember, by diet, we don't mean diet to lose weight. Your diet is simply what you consume, right? Yeah. So, sorry, 1 second. It's important for me, to pay attention to my diet, because it gives me the energy to show up better as a mother. Okay. So I don't look at it as I need to restrict myself or I'm eating this way so that I can look a certain way. I'm eating this way so that I can feel a certain way. When I eat better, I have the energy to make it through the day, to pay attention to my daughter, to execute all the things I need to execute at work, to execute all the things I need to execute here at home.
Yeah.
Before I really started paying attention to what I was eating, I used to have this drag from about 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. where I literally felt like I can't make it through the day. Like I literally felt like I could just like fall asleep at 3 p.m. Like I was like, there's no way that I can work for another hour. There's no way I can take my kid to swimming. There's no way I can go pick her up from wherever. There's no way I can start dinner because I'm just like, oh, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And it all tied into the way I was eating, the way I was not sleeping well and not taking care of myself. And so for me, it's really about stepping back and saying, hey, I take care of myself so that I can take care of everything else. That whole notion of you can't pour from an empty cup is like literally one of my like guiding principles. And so for me, it's important for me to take an hour for myself to exercise, to take time for myself to like prepare a good meal because it helps me show up better. And when I think about what I saw my mom doing when I was growing up, how she would talk about her body, the things that I would see her eat, how I would watch her restrict herself, I don't want to repeat that same cycle. And so I want my daughter to see me talk about myself positively. I want her to see me eating food that I enjoy and not talking about salad and vegetables as if there's something that you eat to punish yourself or like to take energy because you ate a donut. I want her to know you can eat a donut and you can eat salad and there's no meaning attached to either of them. A donut is delicious. It's not that nutritious. Salad is delicious and also nutritious. And it's okay. You can eat both and be happy and enjoy the way you look and like feel good. So I think that it all really ties together. I spent a lot of time legit naked around the house with my daughter. And like I take a shower or I wash my hair and stuff. Like I literally make sure she sees me like dance naked in front of the mirror and be like, look at me. Not in front of the mirror like, oh, look at me. Like, oh, like these pants don't fit or, oh, I feel terrible. Like I want her to see me enjoy myself and enjoy my body. And hopefully that has a positive impact on her.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I hadn't thought about the fact that what you do, your children, they're watching you.
They're watching. They are watching hardcore. And the little phrases that you say, like if you ever realize how you might say like, oh, I'm not like, oh, like these pants are tight. I need to like hit the salad. Or, oh no, I ate badly yesterday. Or I was so bad. Or I shouldn't eat this burger. I'm so bad, you know? They hear when you say little things like that. Like it's funny because now my daughter, like she'll go into the kitchen and like ask, her dad for a snack and he'll say, okay, like, here are some grapes. And she'll say, but what's the protein? Like I need some protein, because she hears me constantly saying, what's the protein? Like, where's the protein? We need more protein, And so she's not looking at it and saying like, oh, I need to punish myself and eat, protein. But she's saying like, oh, like I need protein. It's going to make me feel better. Like daddy, give me some protein. And of course he's like, oh yeah, okay, I have to like find protein,
I love that. Like you're showing her self-love.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Right.
And I think that's just so important when they're so young and to get that embedded in their thoughts, growing
Absolutely.
up. I will ask you this.
Yeah.
Being a mom, sometimes it gets stressful, of course, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself stress eating? And if so, what do you do to, break out of that habit?
Combat that. Okay, absolutely. And I won't even say as a mom. I know that most of your audience, are moms, but stress eating, and of course, some people stress eat, some people stress not eat. Right? Like when they're overstressed, they don't eat, which is equally bad. We can't view that as a good thing because then you are depriving your body of, nourishment that it needs. So when it comes to stress eating, I have strategies that I give my clients. The first part of it is that we all have different triggers that make us stress eat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for us to identify our individual triggers. For me, my husband travels a lot for work. I used to stress eat, and I wouldn't call it stress eat. I would just call it emotional eating. When I would feel lonely, he would leave me, 3, 4, sometimes 5 days at a time.
Yeah.
And, I would just feel, especially being in this country, feel isolated, feel lonely, feel like, I just wish there was someone like here with me right now.
Yeah.
That was an adult, not my child. And, and so I would like comfort myself with food. Now, when that's happening, when you're deep in the throes of that, it's hard to come up with an alternative action that you can take. So what's important where emotional eating is concerned is when you are not in that stressful moment or not in the throes of an emotional moment, identify some alternative actions that you can take. So for me personally, I will do my nails. If I start to feel that feeling come on, I now have a list of things that I can do. So for me, the list is I'll do my nails. I will go and clean something. I will go and I will do like a mask or some kind of skincare thing. I will call my sister or I will call my mom and just have a 20, 30 minute catch up with them. So it's not necessarily about speaking what I'm emotionally going through, but it's really just about distracting myself almost, because sometimes when you have that feeling, it's a fleeting feeling. It will be gone in 5, 10, 15 minutes. If you can just make it through that 10, 15 minutes, then you can go past that feeling, right?
Yeah.
So what I like to suggest is when things are fine, when things are normal, write a list of alternative actions you can take. Maybe you can go for a walk if there's someone that's home with the baby, right? Maybe you can put on a YouTube and dance to some Beyonce. Maybe you could listen to a podcast that you enjoy listening to. But having that list of things that you can turn to instead of turning to food can help you get through that stress eating moment. So identify what your triggers are. Is it something that happens at work? Is it a conversation with your spouse? Is it something that the children do that drives you, batshit crazy, that makes you stress out? Identify what the triggers are, make yourself a list of alternative coping actions, and then try to take one of those actions when it happens. But then also give yourself grace, because when stress eating happens, it doesn't help you to then go into this guilt, perpetual cycle of guilt, where you just, I feel bad, I did this, so then you do it again, and you feel bad, and you do it again, and you feel bad. If it happens, it's important to just look at it for what it is. Something happened at work, I came home, I stress ate. I don't love that I took that action, but I don't need to pay penance for it. I need to just move on, right? And you need to just turn from it and move on.
Wow. Geez, I find that to be so helpful. I'd never thought about taking an alternative action during a stressful time where I just want to, if something, for me, I definitely can find myself being a stress eater. If something's happening and it's out of my control, I'm like, you know what? Order takeout. I'm not cooking today. So, to think about, okay, maybe I just make a phone call to, a family member or somebody. To that is so good.
To decompress. Yeah. And that's the thing. Sometimes it's, as I said, it's really only a few minutes that you need to get through or get past, right?
Yeah.
And also when you, based on the situation you just described, if you are someone who just based on the way your work and life, your home life structure is, if you leave work and you're coming home and you have to cook something or prepare something, that little moment of disconnect where you're thinking, I'm my cup is out, my plate is already so full, I can't handle anything else, so I'm just going to order takeout instead of going home and cooking. You may have wanted to, obviously there's not much you can do about that in the moment. Yeah. So if something like that happens, I would want you to plan for when that happens again. And how would you do that? There are two things you could do. Always have protein at home, prepped in the fridge, which means you could come home and say, you know what, I don't need to cook anything. I could literally just steam some broccoli and I already have like rice and chicken and something in the fridge that I can just like throw together. So already having something prepped in the fridge. Or number two is literally come up with a list of healthier takeout options. So meaning don't look for the takeout to comfort you. So like the difference between, you know, ordering Chinese food where you just get like straight noodles and fried rice and like, you know, fried whatever, versus saying, okay, we're going to order Chinese food, but we're going to get the roast chicken that comes with, you know, with veggies. And we're going to get like the shrimp stir fry. So then that is all very protein centered instead of getting the more like fried comfort food.
The fried stuff.
And like getting that takeout, it solves the stress of not having to come home and cook, right? But it still gets you closer to whatever your weight loss or weight maintenance goal is.
Yes. So the dishes are different in everywhere, right? You know, state to state in the United States and different countries. And, you know, you're over there in the UAE, and certainly the dishes like we talked about in the beginning, they're different. For moms who are traveling and just or find themselves out of their comfort zone, you know, it could be a couple of days, maybe on a trip with friends. How do they prepare? How do they plan for that? You know, being out of their comfort zone and not having access to those dishes that they normally would.
Okay. So I like for my clients to identify what's the purpose of travel. I find that there are like 2 or 3 categories of travel. You might be someone, as a mom, whatever, who, if you travel every month for work or like every week for work, then it means that the travel is a part of your life and you need to have sustainable strategies because you are constantly traveling, right? That is very different than a mom who once a year gets to go away for 4 days with her girlfriends for vacation. And like that's for one travel experience. Those two people are going to eat very differently on those travel moments, right? That mom who's going away for 4 days with her girlfriends, I want her to just eat whatever the hell she wants. I want her to drink all the margaritas and just like do her thing. That is not the moment. Like that moment is supposed to be stress-free vacation, enjoy all the things, taste all the things, relax. That's what it's supposed to be. And yes, it means you come home probably 3 pounds heavier, maybe 5 pounds heavier. Not a big deal. You know, fine. Not a big deal because you went there to de-stress, because you needed to de-stress, right? You needed a break, a vacation. Now, that's in high contrast to, as I said, the mom who travels every month for work. The travel is a part of her life. When the travel is a part of your life, I basically tell my clients, make sure every meal that you eat has a major source of protein. I teach my clients about eating more protein because protein keeps you more satisfied, which in turn makes you eat less overall. If you've ever seen someone who says they're going to skip breakfast so that they can try to eat less all day, but by the time they get to lunch or dinner, they're so ravenous that they overeat, they end up negating, you know, the skipping of breakfast because now they overeat later in the day. So I try to tell clients, if you're traveling and you're traveling for, you know, for work, for whatever, make sure you eat at least 3 square meals a day. Make sure each meal has a solid source of protein. Make sure that you set yourself some non-negotiables. I'm going to make time to go to the gym. I'm going to make sure that I get in all my water. Now, this is less stressful because it's not saying I'm not going to have ice cream, I'm not going to have French fries, I'm not going to, you know, you're going to New Orleans, you're not going to say, oh, I'm not going to have beignets or whatever. No, you can have all those things, but I still just need you to have a source of protein at each meal. And what you'll find is you're so satisfied from that lunch that had a high source of protein in it, that even when you're now presented with beignets or margaritas or whatever, you're so satisfied from the lunch, you have 1 beignet instead of 6, you know, you have 1 margarita instead of 4, because you're almost too full, you know what I mean? So you kind of can't overindulge in that way. So there's kind of a correlation between all of that. I personally find that it's really important to almost like identify the reason for the travel and then see how that ties into how you're going to maintain your
Mm, very
diet.
interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was very informative because I know that traveling, especially now that I guess you
Throws
can say
people
we're on
off.
the back end of the pandemic. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we're starting to get back out there, but then,
Mm-hmm.
with travel, it's so difficult sometimes to
Mm-hmm.
maintain your diet and whatever your diet looks like, and especially if
Right.
it's you're looking to like either manage your weight or lose weight.
Right.
So,
Well, I'm also, though, I'm a big proponent of making sure that your diet is not too restrictive at home, because
mm,
then when you go out of town, you kind of go into this mode like, oh, I gotta, YOLO, like I gotta eat all the things and do all the things, while I'm out.
yeah,
But if your diet at home is, a little more inclusive and, kind of like level, then even when you go out, you're thinking, when you travel, I mean, you're thinking to yourself like, oh, like there's a couple of things I want to try, but
yeah,
you don't feel the need to like go crazy because
yeah.
you generally can still eat whatever you want.
Right, right, right. You talk a lot about self-love, and
Mm-hmm.
I love that because I think it's
Mm-hmm.
so important to, value yourself
Yeah.
and yeah. So, uh, can you explain, like, for example, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more about what you mean when you say, uh, let's say you ate something unplanned and, not
Mm-hmm.
being too restrictive on,
Mm-hmm.
your weight loss diet because it's a little bit of a catch-22. You're trying to lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
but like,
Mm-hmm.
can you explain all of that philosophy behind that?
Sure. So I want you to think, that phrase, you catch more flies with honey?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, just literally, if you think of how, if you need to go return something at a store and like you approach a customer service agent, like, I'm upset, return this,
Yeah.
like they kind of look at you like, ugh. Whereas if you
Yeah.
walk in and you're just like, hi, I'm having this small issue. Would you be able to help me? I'd really appreciate it. 9 out of 10 times, that customer service person is going to be like, yes, like, let's talk about it. I'll see how I can help you, right? Because you came at them
Mm-hmm.
pleasantly. I find that the philosophy is the same when you come at yourself, right?
Yes.
You can't hate yourself or hate your body into submission. You can't
Mm.
hate yourself into changing your behavior.
Yeah.
You have to approach yourself gently. And now, even as moms, if you think about when we deal with the children, when you approach the children and you say, do this,
Oh.
stop it, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
either they don't do it or they're scared of you. And so then they don't want to
Yeah.
communicate with you. And it doesn't breed a good relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you approach the kids and you say, please, I've told you several times to stop doing that. Or,
Yeah.
like, let's talk about it. Why do you keep doing that even though mommy told you to stop doing it,
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you realize like, oh, the kid just needs attention or the kid is tired or,
Yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is you get more from any
Mm-hmm.
relationship when
Mm-hmm.
you approach it from
Mm-hmm.
a positive place. And
Yes.
so the same goes for your body. You can't look at yourself and say, I hate myself and that's why I need to change things
Mm-hmm.
about my body. But if you look at yourself, and I mean, this takes time, it takes work, it takes affirmations, it takes repetition of
Mm-hmm.
certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at yourself and saying, hey, I love myself. That's why I want to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
That ends up resulting in a very different approach when you kind of mess up on your diet, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you mess up and you eat something you didn't plan to eat, you go off plan, being able to look at it with less of a color of hate or of negativity, and
Mm-hmm.
being able to look at it and just say, okay, so I ate something I didn't want to eat. Why did I do that? How do I feel now that I've done that?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to identify those things. And I'm big on telling my clients to journal, right? Like if you had a moment where you ate this thing you didn't want to eat, I literally want you to bust out your journal and write how it makes you feel right now. And if you're feeling guilty and you realize like the reason you did that was because of one of the stressful things that we talked about before,
Mm-hmm.
then that just easier helps you identify like, okay, the next time this happens, I'm going to remember this feeling because I just wrote it down, right? Like it's tangible now. I've taken the feeling from my head and my heart. It's tangible. I put it on paper. And that's going to help you remember the next time that like, oh yeah, you remember what happened the last time you ate that whole family size bag of Doritos? Your stomach, you felt really bad about yourself. You felt like you took yourself further away from your goals. These are goals that you've set for yourself. They're not goals that someone else has set for you. It's not like someone else has looked at you and said, you need to lose 40 pounds, right? Because like, even if there is someone that's saying that, that can't be the reason that you want to lose 40 pounds, right? It has to be something internal where you look at yourself and say, I want to make a commitment to myself. I've set these parameters for myself. And so I can commit to everything else. I can commit to myself. You understand? Yeah. So I find that it's really in the way that you approach yourself or shifting the way that you approach yourself that then causes a shift in the way that you react or respond to yourself when you don't follow through. And I really try to teach my clients that it's not about perfection. So if you're dieting for, let us say, I don't know, 4 months, you're not going to be perfect every day for 4 months. There are going to be days where you mess up or you overeat or you don't follow the diet at all. And as long as you kind of expect that, then it's also like, when you have one of those days, it's less of a big deal because you're like, okay, this was just one of those days, right? Yeah. And you just now need to pick it back up and you're not starting over the next day. You are just continuing with the original plan. You deviated from the plan for the moment, and now you're continuing with the original plan. So there's all, I love to say everything has layers, everything is nuanced. And it really is because while weight loss is science, calories in, calories out, there are so many behavioral, emotional, mindset aspects connected to it that it's not just about the food you eat. It's also it's about how you approach it. It's about how you think of it, how you think of yourself, how you respond to yourself. So I love that there are all these extra layers and all these background things, that we can talk about where a weight loss journey is concerned.
Yeah. It's almost like having a relationship with your body. And
there we go.
Never thought about it like that. Some people tend to kind of they not self-sabotage, but they do kind of have that strong, like, critical way about like,
approaching themselves
and like, oh, I'm so mad at myself, like I look disgusting. And I'm just like, no, don't.
Why are we talking to ourselves like that?
Because we are, we are consciousness, like, so we're receiving that. And I don't know that for me, I've heard people say, oh, this is what works for me. Basically telling myself that I hate myself.
To like berate myself.
Yes. I think that's terrible. So I love that philosophy behind that, you are in a relationship with your body.
Exactly. I was and I made a post about this on Instagram the other day, because I think it can relate to so many things. For any of the ladies in your group, if you have a partner who you had, your children with, or just your relationship with your children, no relationship is perfect. And every relationship, like, it has peaks and it has valleys, right? You can be married to someone 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. There are bad days, there are bad weeks, there are bad months. It doesn't mean it's a bad marriage. It doesn't mean it's a failed marriage, right? Same thing with your children. There can be a week or a day or an afternoon that your child is just acting like an asshole, and you think, oh my God, like, who is this child? It doesn't mean that you're like, oh, I have failed this child. I want to throw this. I think Jay-Z said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? I know he didn't make it up, but right? But the point is, the same goes for the relationship with your body or your diet. There are going to be bad days. There are going to be days that you look at your body and you're like, I don't particularly love, the way my stomach looks today. But it doesn't mean that your whole body is garbage, and it doesn't mean that your diet is garbage just because you've messed up that one day. Anything in life, there are good days, there are bad days, good moments, there are shit moments. It doesn't mean that it's a horrible thing. And I genuinely find as long as you approach it from love and with patience, you'll get where you're trying to go with your weight loss journey or with feeling better about your body, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
There's so many diets on the market, right? I mean, the list goes
Mhm.
on and on and on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, a lot of people, I'll be straightforward, a lot of people, they don't want to do, you know, one specific diet, like, so whatever I'm doing, for example, you know, they don't
May
want to do
not
what
work for
I'm
someone
doing.
else.
It may not work
Yeah.
for them, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So what would you say? Would you say that your dietary approach is
Mhm.
all inclusive?
Mhm.
And if so, why? And if it's not, then tell us why as well.
Okay. I would have to say yes, my dietary approach is all inclusive, and here is why. I'm big on teaching you how to lose weight while including your cultural foods. A lot of women who I work with tend to be of Jamaican or Caribbean descent or of African American descent, which then somehow is connected, you know, to Caribbean descent, like I said.
Yes.
All the Caribbean immigrants.
Yeah.
We have been fed for decades that food needs to be more on the Caucasian side of things, more on the blander side of things.
Yes.
For us to lose
Different
weight,
from
right?
our, yes.
Very different from our cultural, like seasoned food, right?
Yes.
Or like, you know, from the foods we enjoy. So my approach is that I teach you how to lose weight, including all of those foods in your diet regularly. And so that's why I feel my diet is very inclusive, or like my dietary approach. And I will freely admit the thing that some people don't love about my dietary approach is it's time consuming at the outset. I teach you how to track your macros, track your calories. And while that is annoying on the surface at first, it has a purpose. It's teaching you something for the long run. I want you to think of it like this. When you think about when you first graduated from college, or when you first started like living financially on your own, whenever that was, you know, because obviously that happens at different times for people.
Yeah.
So when you make your first budget, you get your first paycheck, right? Your first paycheck is let's just make up numbers. It's $1,000, and you're like, okay, so rent is $400. My car note is $100. My insurance, my food, my whatever is $300. I only have what, $200 left to spend on the things I want to spend it on, right? When you first learn about budgeting and about how much you're earning, you have to be pretty specific, right? Because you have to be like, wait, I really need to stay within these parameters, or else I'm going to find myself overspending each month. I'm going to be in the red. That's just like your weight and your body and learning about calories. You have to take a step back to learn about how much food your body needs. Because remember, your body needs different amounts of food than my body, right? Just like your budget is different from my budget. So when you take the time to learn about that very specific amount, when you learn to budget initially, after you've taken the time to learn, think about it. Now that you have, you know, been financially supporting yourself for years, do you need to be as obsessive about your budget? Or can you look and you can say, okay, I know I have around, you know, $200 to $300 to spend on whatever I want. You don't have to now say, oh my God, I spent $201. Like I burst my budget, right? Like, because now you know, all right, I can do approximately this and be fine. It's the same with the calories. Taking the time to learn to track your calories, track your macros, learn how much food your body needs at your age, your activity level, your height, with PCOS, without PCOS, you know, being in menopause, being premenopausal, all these things. Taking the time to learn about that is what's going to give you the confidence, the strength, the power to not have to worry so much about your weight or how much you eat in the future. So I teach you very specifically to learn about the nutrition value, the macros and the calories in your food, so that inevitably you don't have to worry about it. Okay? Like I teach you how to like take a step back and learn everything early, so then you don't have to worry about it later.
So basically, you're laying a foundation, if you will,
Yeah.
from up front, so that way that
Yes.
you can carry that on as perhaps a lifestyle instead of the
Yes.
traditional word of
Absolutely.
diet.
Diet. And also, what's interesting about my approach is I don't vilify any foods. You
Mm.
have potentially worked with or seen other nutrition coaches before who are, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
about like eating clean, or who would say,
Mm-hmm.
no, like you can't have Oreos, you can't have this, you can't have
None of
that.
this stuff,
I
yeah.
am very big on literally, I tell my clients, I want you to eat an Oreo every single day, or I want you
Wow.
to, have some chips, whatever it is that your preference is, right?
Yeah.
And the reason that I do that is because I focus on teaching you about kind of like food neutrality.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen where people will be like, oh, this is a good food, this is a bad food, So
Yes,
like
definitely.
whatever like if you've ever seen people like bake cookies from oatmeal and
Mm-hmm.
honey and bananas. So it's like this is a
Mm-hmm.
good cookie, but an Oreo is a
But the
bad
bad
cookie,
cookie.
right? Like or
Yeah.
whatever, right? But
Yeah.
the truth is I teach you about food neutrality, which is really just that oatmeal banana honey cookie is
Mm-hmm.
really just carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
That Oreo cookie is really just carbohydrates. That
Mm-hmm.
means they're the same thing. They're both
Mm-hmm.
just carbohydrates, right? Like
Yeah.
one's not a better for you carbohydrate, one's not a worse for you carbohydrate. They're both just
Mm-hmm.
carbohydrates. So
Mm-hmm.
then you now have the power to decide. One day I want that oatmeal banana cookie, one day I want that Oreo cookie, and it's
Mm-hmm.
perfectly fine, right?
Yeah.
So because I teach you how to look at food so neutrally,
Mm-hmm.
it ends up changing your relationship with food, and you end up realizing that you can diet and eat Oreo cookies. You can diet
Mm-hmm.
and eat, Doritos. Obviously, your meals for the day are not all donuts and Oreos and Doritos, but it
Mm-hmm.
also means that you feel no guilt when you have an Oreo or a donut because it's a
Mm-hmm.
part of your diet, because you can lose weight eating
Mm-hmm.
Oreos and donuts.
Right.
Mm.
Um, so here's a simple question.
Hmm.
Do we really need to exercise? I mean, I say
Yeah.
this because as speaking from like the mom's perspective,
Right.
we're so busy, and let's say we
Mm-hmm.
are, eating a balanced diet, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what can we do? Like how do we balance all of that out? Do we really need to be
So
active?
you want a simple answer, or you want like the real answer?
The real answer.
Real answer. All right. So I have two schools of thought on this one.
Mm-hmm.
You can lose weight without ever stepping foot in a gym, without ever exercising. Weight loss, fat loss boils down to the calories. So the calories that you consume, not so much the exercise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first answer would be yes, you can just focus on what you eat, forget about exercise, and you can still lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Better answer, second answer is if you want to actually like change the shape of your body, when we talk about, women who want to look toned, right?
Mm-hmm.
That takes some form of exercise.
Yeah.
Now, typically, people think it means you need to go running, you need to go on the Stairmaster, you need to be doing like a ton of cardio. You don't. You actually need to be building muscle, strength training, and that is what is going to change the shape of your body. And strength training, building muscle, actually allows you to eat more and still lose weight or maintain your weight, because having muscle on your body burns more calories than not having muscle on your body. So as busy moms, I would have to tell you to lower the barrier to entry. We always think like, oh, in your pre-mom life, let's say, you may have exercised for 45 minutes or an hour or like an hour and change because you're like, I got time. Like, you make time in the morning before work or in the afternoon, you hit the gym, you take your time and you do your long workout, whatever. You don't have that kind of time as a new mom, and you are super duper sleep deprived, right? So for me at that point, I say lower the barrier to entry and just establish, you know what? I have 20 minutes to work out. What am I going to do in that 20 minutes? which is very different than saying, if I can't do that 1 hour workout, I'm going to do nothing at all. Right? So if you only have 20 minutes, use that 20 minutes. If you only have 15 minutes, use that 15 minutes. And I would tell you to strength train in that 15 minutes instead of doing cardio. Cardio meaning, HIIT training, jumping up and down, Stairmaster, treadmill type stuff. I would tell you to lean into strength training because that's what's really going to change the shape of your body and help you look leaner and more toned.
So you don't think it's really necessary to do cardio in the sense of like running on a treadmill? That's not
for weight loss. No, cardio is for your heart. Think about it. Cardio is for your cardiovascular capacity. It increases your heart strength and your lung capacity, like the ability of your lungs to function at, with like less oxygen or at like such a high rate. But in terms of weight loss, fat loss, if you've ever heard the saying, abs are made in the kitchen, it's all in what you eat. It's mostly about what you eat. Yeah. Okay. So when I lost my 45 pounds, the most cardio that I was doing was walking. Like I'm not someone who likes to run. I don't love the elliptical. I don't love any of that stuff. For me, strength training, walking, and sorting out your shit in the kitchen.
Sorry, you have me laughing. It's true. It is true. Yeah. So, we talk so much about being a busy mom on this particular episode, and you're doing it all. You're in the gym. You're teaching other moms and women, well, both, right? How to lose weight and to eat right, or not eat right, but eat a balanced,
eat better.
Yeah. Can you walk us through, because how do you do it? You're a mom, you're working. How do you maintain that life and keep order, in everything that you do? Can you walk us through a day?
I can walk you through a day, and I can also freely admit that something always has to fall to the wayside. Okay, which means if I take care of my body, I take care of my kid and my husband, and I take care of my work, my clients, it means my house is more than likely a mess because I don't have time to clean the house if I'm doing all that other stuff, right? It means that there are certain things that I have to just get help with. I think that there is this like horrible pressure that's placed on us as mothers that you need to do it all. And it's impossible. It's simply not possible to do it all. It's simply not possible. And if I feel like once I came to that realization, I used to look at other women and I'd be like, oh my God, look, she has it all together. Like, look at that. Like, work looks good. Her house looks good. The kid is smart. The kid is happy. The husband looks good. He's happy. She looks good. The body looks good. But as I have gotten closer to certain friends, you get to the point where you can speak to them and they're like, oh no, like I hate my husband, or my husband's an asshole, So like, forget the husband. I'm focused on the kids and the family and, the body. Or they'll freely admit then, no, I don't cook. So that means, I'm juggling all the other stuff, but someone else is doing the cooking. Or they've hired out certain help with the kids. You know what I mean? So the point is, I know it's hard. I always used to feel like everyone else had a village around them, like a village of support, like people, aunts and cousins and friends and like people to help. And I always felt like because I live in another country, I don't have that support around me, right? It's just me, my husband, and the kid. So what I have personally had to do is I budget to hire people to help me. I send out my laundry, like just being like totally straight with you and the audience. I probably do 1 load of laundry per week. Everything else I send out for someone else to wash and dry and fold. It comes back to me in a bag and I don't even put it away. I have a housekeeper I have a housekeeper that comes 3 times a week, and she comes for like 2 to 3 hours and she puts all the stuff away.
Yeah.
I cook all the meals in my house, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My husband washes the dishes and my daughter puts all the dishes away. So sure, I have to be in the kitchen handling all the cooking, but then they support
They jump in.
household by
Yeah.
putting the things away. As I said, unless the housekeeper comes, the house is a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It
everything that I
happens.
am
Yeah.
teaching and all my communication
Yeah.
happens right here. You
Yeah.
can't see what's happening behind my camera.
I love it. I love
Like,
it
like,
though. Keeping it
like for me,
100% real.
that's the transparency, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the transparency of it all. And so I don't aim to show or be any paragon of perfection because I am not. If you see that I have 3 balls in the air and they look really good, there are 10 balls on the floor that I'm like, I'll deal with that later.
Later.
Like,
Yeah.
whatever, I'll deal with that later, right?
Yeah.
I have gotten better at prioritizing certain things and just saying like, hey, this is family time. This is work time. So I'm sorry, family. You guys need to just shut up and step out of the room because I need to do this thing that a client paid me for.
Right.
Being that all my work, I get all my clients through social media, right? So literally everyone I meet is on social media. I'm very upfront about the fact that I think I have ADHD. I have not like been diagnosed with it.
Yeah.
I am easily distracted. I forget things constantly. I have to write everything down. I feel like my clients, they know that. And that doesn't mean that they think working with me is going to be garbage or that I'm going to say, hey, I'll send you something by Monday and it means I don't send it till Friday. That's not what it means. It just means that I'm very upfront about who I am and I keep the lines of communication open. If I told you I would do something by Monday and it's Sunday and I've not done it, I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to say, hey, I've had a delay. You'll get your thing by Tuesday. You know, like I don't know. I feel like I show, I make sure I show people who I am, so they know what they get when they are gonna work with me. I've released myself from that thought of perfection.
Right.
If there are people out there doing it, maybe they can come on the podcast and they can tell us.
I could tell you, no one is doing it so far.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. And as I said, all my friends who, you might see things and you think like, oh my God, perfect. It's perfect. Nah, it's not all perfect. There's some stuff happening in the background that's like it's terrible, and we're all just doing our best. So in terms of my like day, I'm up at 6:15 or so every morning. I get my daughter ready for school. I mostly do drop off. So I drop her off. I go straight to the gym after I drop her off. I work out for an hour, come home, immediately shower. While I'm showering, I'm getting breakfast ready. I don't actually sit down at my laptop to start working until 9. Like that's just it. So my main working hours are from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that's not really a long enough work day. So 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then I will go and pick her up. If my husband is here, he will go and pick her up. So I can stay home and like work for another hour or two. She typically has afternoon activities. So one of us has to take her to swimming or football or tennis or whatever, something that she has to do. We come home. I typically will prepare some protein earlier in the week. So I might just be reheating it or, repurposing it in some way. And if I haven't done that, I'm a big fan of like quick cooking. So I'm not sauteing and cooking down stuff that needs to cook for an hour or two. I am making salmon, which I'm sticking in the oven. It's going to take 10 minutes and we're eating. And I've already prepared like the rice and the veg there in the fridge. So all I need to do is really stick that salmon in the oven. So I'm a big fan of like quick cooking like that. Because of my time difference with all my clients, typically in the afternoons or like late afternoon, like maybe between 6 and 8 p.m. is when I have calls with my clients. So I'm a big fan of batching. which means I put all my client calls on a Tuesday and Wednesday so that Thursday, Friday, and Monday, I don't have to worry about client calls. I'm free enough to either complete other work that I need to complete or do something with the family if I have to do it. Then I'll put my daughter to bed. Then I will lay on the couch and feel guilty about all the work I didn't do.
Oh,
and
no.
I will go to my bed.
So a packed day.
A packed day, every day.
Oh
every
my
day.
gosh.
Absolutely. But yeah, I don't make any like I don't try to like fake it like, oh, I'm juggling it all.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
No. We're all struggling.
Yeah, that's the life of a mom, you know? How, what's a word of advice that you would give to moms who are, struggling with their weight? So many moms out there that struggle. So what would you say just as like a broad general word of advice to them?
My broad general word of advice, I'd have to reiterate what I shared before. Approach yourself from a place of love. Approach yourself from a place of love. You're not being a bad mom if you take half an hour away to go do something for yourself, meaning be it exercise or prepare some food for yourself. You can't look at your body and wish for your pre-baby body, because as I said, you love the baby, you have the baby. This is your reality now. Start finding some things that you love about yourself and your body and like what your body does for you on a daily basis, so that you can shift your approach to your body and start kind of healing it from that angle. So I really say, like, just give yourself some grace and approach yourself with love. Yeah. Wow. That would be my overarching thing.
I know for a fact that after watching this interview, a lot of moms will want to reach out to you and, speak with you, because it is a struggle that we all deal with.
Yeah, for sure.
So, where can they find you? And yeah, like, let's have your information on where they can get to you.
Sure. The best place to find me is Instagram. My Instagram handle is at Cam's Mindset Macros. Instagram is like my place, which is funny because I was super anti-social media before.
Wow.
Before I started this Instagram. Yes. But no, like now I'm there every day. I'm in my DMs. I'm pretty open about sharing on there. If you need support, if you just have a quick question, I'm not the person who like you'll DM me and I take 5 days to respond. Like you DM me and I'm there. I'm on there answering, because it's really for me where I have built a little community of women who have been through what I've been through, who are currently going through what I've been through. And I have found that like the power of community, of being there on Instagram has been exceptional. So mostly on Instagram. You can also go to my website, which is www.camsmindsetmacros.com. If you want to find any information about my programs, I run 2 separate programs that can help you. And those are the best places to find me.
Oh my gosh, this has been just unbelievable. Really informative and helpful for me, for myself, and I'm sure for many other moms and women just in general out there who need a little bit of help in kind of getting the weight under management, if you will. You guys can also reach out to Your Favorite Mom Friends group on Facebook. And, you can get in contact with me and I can get you in contact with Camille as well. So that is another way. Awesome. And, it's also access to these podcasts, like first access to the podcast before it goes on the other platforms like YouTube and all of that. Nice. So, Camille, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
I cannot express how grateful I am for you to come on and just share.
I'm so glad. I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. And for the rest of you moms out there, you heard it from Camille. Please go follow her on Instagram. Go to her website. I don't know, book a session, something. Get in contact with her because she clearly knows her stuff. Yes. So until next time, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Camille.
Thank you,
Bye.
Leilani. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks.